Welcome to the AI for Career Success podcast by Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. This is episode 157. I'm Fred.
And I'm Daphne.
So today's discussion was actually suggested by our producer, Curt Robbins, and it gets into something really fundamental. It's about the skills we all need to succeed, the ones that are kind of being eroded by the very digital world we're all working in.
Right.
We're looking at an article titled The Death of Dialog by Jessica Talisman. It was published on LinkedIn just recently.
That is a very provocative title. And for you listening, especially if you're already using AI to get work done, it's a critical conversation.
Nice so.
Because it's all about how we know what we know. It's about protecting our own intellectual rigor, which is what lets you make smart career moves, especially when you're working side by side with machines.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The author, Talisman, she starts by redefining the word argument. What's the big difference between, the old way and what we see online now?
Well, the core difference is really intent. The old sense of argument, it was about building a case. You used evidence, you used reasoning. The goal was discovery, not performance.
You were trying to find the truth, not just win.
Exactly. The modern version is just performative. It's all shouting, dunking on people, using straw man arguments. It completely sidesteps any kind of real critical thinking.
The article brings up this really interesting training ground for the old way, Georgetown Day School, or GDS. What was it about that environment that taught people how to think about authority?
It was intentionally anti-hierarchical. I mean, this was a school for the DC elite, but their whole system was designed to break down that sense of deference.
Like the kids as senators were there, but
they were calling their teachers Linda or Bob. It trained students to see knowledge as something you build together, through exchange. It wasn't just handed down from on high.
So authority came from the idea itself.
Precisely. It came from the soundness of the idea, the facts behind it, not from someone's job title.
And what does that mean for you, listening to this? If you're using AI to synthesize a report, you need to know how to challenge what it's telling you. You have to be your own Linda or Bob.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. The foundation for all this training came from 2 required English classes in their junior year. Let's talk about the first one, Bible as Literature.
Yeah, and that class taught intellectual honesty. It was all about separating analysis from advocacy. They used the scholarly Jerusalem Bible.
Why that specific one?
Because it's packed with historical context and critical footnotes. They had to analyze the text, like the Book of Job or Genesis, for narrative, for rhetoric, for structure.
While setting aside their own personal beliefs.
Exactly. They had to park their own faith or lack of it at the door.
So the big takeaway there seems to be, can you actually engage with material on its own terms before you start judging it?
Yes, and that is such a crucial skill. And the second semester, the argument class, was where they put it all into practice.
And this one had really strict rules, right?
Oh, incredibly strict. Every single claim had to have support. Every sentence had to earn its place. And you had to acknowledge dissenting opinions. It wasn't optional.
The article says they were even encouraged to argue positions they didn't personally believe in, sometimes even switch sides in the middle of a debate. Why is that so important for a career that uses AI?
Because that's epistemology in action. It's the study of how we know what we know. When you can argue the opposing view better than its own defenders, you stress test your own position.
You find the weak spots.
You find the weak spots. You see where the evidence is thin. And acknowledging those limitations, that actually bolsters your credibility. It shows you're committed to the truth, not just to winning.
So being wrong isn't the shameful part.
Being wrong is part of the process. Being unwilling to examine if you're wrong, that's the problem.
Let's take a brief break for a special message from our producer, Curt Robbins.
Hi, this is Curt Robbins. First, thanks for listening. I truly appreciate your support. I want to let you know that I'm currently accepting new clients. My rates are affordable, and I have more than 25 years of experience working for enterprise companies like Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Oracle, PNC Bank, FedEx, USAA, and Wells Fargo, among many others. If you want to improve your IT documentation and communications, hire me. I deliver fast, know how to use AI to improve efficiency and accuracy, and love going the extra mile to satisfy my clients. Thank you for subscribing and listening. Back to you, Daphne and Fred.
Welcome back to the AI for Career Success podcast. So, Fred, if those classes were the foundation for rigorous thinking, the author argues that modern platforms, social media, they actively tear those foundations down.
Right. She calls it the platform problem. What do these platforms favor over actual truth and dialogue?
Engagement metrics, not rigor. The algorithms are built to reward emotional activation.
Meaning outrage spreads faster than a nuanced discussion.
Infinitely faster. Certainty performs better than qualification. I mean, think about it. Unlike old forums like Usenet, where conversations were threaded and you had context, social media is all about declarations. It's performance. It literally trains us in dogma and defensiveness, and that just leads to the total dissolution of real discourse.
And this leads to something the author calls the consolidation of ideas.
Right.
What does that look like in practice?
It's where rigor just vanishes, and what's left is, well, it's just an aesthetic, a vibe. Positions become identity markers.
You mean people use fancy words to sound smart?
Exactly that. People throw around words like semantics or context as a sort of badge of expertise, but without actually understanding the problem they're talking about.
So your beliefs just show which team you're on.
Yes, and arguments become these predictable performances of allegiance.
It really sounds like intellectual laziness gets rewarded.
Yeah.
Which brings us to this image she uses from Disney's Fantasia, the marching brooms.
That's such a powerful metaphor. It highlights the danger of unchecked power, or in this case, unchecked information, just spiraling out of control.
It's magical thinking.
It's magical thinking, and it's crowdsourced intellectual chaos, completely replacing a reasoned argument. And this is where the real danger lies for professionals today. It's the risk of, as she puts it, farming critical thought out to AI and machines.
So if we just let AI synthesize and argue for us, what skills are we losing? What are the gaps?
We lose the ability to spot the gap between confidence and competence. An AI can sound incredibly confident, but it lacks deep context. It lacks that embodied human taste that's required for real discernment.
We still need a human to protect the garden from trampling, as the article says.
We absolutely do. The human is the final checkpoint. This is why the article brings up the limits of old-school symbolic AI and mentions that deep learning is a reaction to that.
How does this all connect to the infrastructure we use, like graph technology?
Well, the demand in the modern era is for real-time, enterprise-grade, contextual automation. Any technology has to be assessed with rigor, and the author points to the ancient Roman architect Vitruvius for the criteria.
Vitruvius. Wait, what were his principles for good design?
3 things. First, strength. Is the system secure? Is it resilient? Second, utility. Does it actually do the job it's supposed to do? Is it fit for its purpose?
And the third one is beauty. That feels a bit abstract for AI.
But it's not. Beauty in this sense means elegance, expressiveness. Is the system intuitive? Is its logic traceable? A beautiful AI system isn't just a black box. Its output is transparent.
So our careers really depend on our ability to judge new tech by those 3 things, not just cling to whatever we learned first.
That's the job now. We have to make the argument for the solution that meets all 3 criteria.
It seems like a key takeaway here is that AI can handle all the data, but we still have to do the hard work of rigor. We have to be the ones pushing back, following the Socratic method.
And speaking of the Socratic method, the comments on the article actually raise a really interesting final point. It's something for you to think about.
Okay.
The ancient Socratic dialogues were often very binary, true or false. And that raises a question for us today. If our AI tools are pushing us toward these binary, high-confidence answers, can we, as human professionals, still introduce the necessary concepts of compromise, balance, and equilibrium into the process?
Or are the tools themselves training that nuance right out of us?
Exactly. Is our ability to find a middle ground, a diplomatic solution, being eroded by the very tools meant to make us more efficient? Something to think about.
Thank you for listening to the AI for Career Success podcast from Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. We'll see you next time.